A cruel crime rocks one South Georgia community when a popular Valdosta radio personality is ambushed outside the station. Nearly 10 years later, the crime is still unsolved. In tonight's Unsolved Georgia, we revisit the murder of Stephon Juan Gatti Edgerton. And for the first time, here's some of his final words as he calls 911 and gives a clue about his own assassin.
More hits, Star 96.7.
It has been nearly 10 years since DJ Juan Gatti spent his final hours in this room.
I feel honored to be sitting here.
The booth now named in his honor.
To just keep hope alive, keep them afloat, keep the memory alive.
The callous killing just out front, changing the landscape forever. Burglar bars and surveillance cameras installed. The GM has lived on site ever since.
Stephon's car was parked here by the walkway, and Stephon had already been transported to the hospital once I arrived.
Captain Stride Jones of the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office has been with the Homicide Division for 21 years and was here the night it happened.
It was a typical South Georgia January 9th. Although there was lighting at the radio station, the surrounding area is very dark. Perfect place for somebody to conceal themselves.
Edgerton was working the Friday night shift, the only one left as he closed up shop just before midnight. Investigators believe the perpetrator was lying in wait, ambushing him as he made his way across the lawn to his car. Edgerton shot 3 times, twice in the body, once in the head.
Most likely, they came in from behind the building and was just waiting in that open area.
Police canines tracked a scent to the wood line behind me. It's about 300 yards out from the facility. They say here they also found tire tracks as well as a potential second scene, which included some cigarette butts, a drink, and a ski cap. And there was also an alleged eyewitness who says they saw a vehicle pulling out from this area headed eastbound right after the time of the killing.
Incredibly, as he lay wounded in the grass, Edgerton was able to make one final call.
911 emergency. What's your emergency?
For the first time, now made public.
Do you know who shot you?
No. We do have the benefit of the 911 call and the brief information that he was able to provide.
Brief but important information, including a clue about the assailant.
So, a white man.
That description, the source of several theories.
But he used the term white boy while he was talking.
Sheriff Ashley Polk wasn't in charge at the time, but he believes the description was meant to lead detectives in a different direction.
Some assumptions were immediately made, which would be reasonable assumptions. It would be a Caucasian person. But with further investigation, when they were doing it, there was a fellow that he was familiar with who was African American, but that was his street name.
Sheriff Polk now says they believe Edgerton knew his killer and claims the agency has been able to establish strong factors which would make the man a very likely suspect.
They had some common friends, and some of them were females, and it could have been the issue of one of those.
However, the sheriff's office says that suspect was killed a few years after Edgerton in a drug-related homicide in nearby Brooks County. Despite the sheriff's confidence in the theory, his agency has never obtained DNA from the unnamed man to try to match to anything left at the scene.
We may in the future if we, develop a link, but we're just not going to arbitrarily collect it.
That theory, just one they're exploring. The 911 call, the source of some contention within the community, never before released to the public and only heard by a few select individuals.
The information was just unclear.
Reverend Floyd Rose of Serenity Church and a civil rights activist, chosen because of his position in the community.
That's what I do, try to find out what happened.
Knew Edgerton well, spent many Sundays listening to him play, welcoming the congregation as the minister of music.
He was a good person. A real good person.
The very keys Edgerton played are still there in front of the sanctuary. His music lives on through an old YouTube page.
Hallelujah.
And in the hearts of loved ones left behind. While he might have been a well-known radio personality, Stephon Edgerton was first and foremost a father.
Just his presence alone just lit up any room that he walked into.
Mia Edgerton, only 13 when her dad was taken, has worked hard to move past the trauma of that night.
I don't think my father would be disappointed that I decided to let go and, focus on my healing and moving toward impacting the world in a positive way.
Now a student neuroscientist working on her PhD, she says her biggest accomplishment is becoming a mother, planning now to honor her father at her wedding next month.
I plan to walk down the aisle to him singing and playing like a recording of him doing that.
Both of Edgerton's boys, so young at the time of the tragedy, now shining too. 18-year-old Christian, captain of the Brooks County football team, leading them to a state championship just last week.
He would have been psyched just like I was. He would have been happy. I wish I could have definitely seen him up in the stands.
His coach says it's been an honor to fulfill a pact he once made to an old friend.
I promised his dad that I would do my best with him, regardless of, if he was going to play for me or whatever he was doing.
Meanwhile, 16-year-old Winston pushes through the pain of the loss by making music. The #1 tuba player in the state of Georgia says it keeps him connected with his late dad.
The sole fact that he is irreplaceable and still has such a large impact on my existence with him not being here is just always speaks volume for me.
Then there's his widow, Hilda.
It's been a roller coaster.
Recently remarrying to a good man, trying to find the silver lining in life, says she will never forget about Stephon.
It just seems unreal that there are no answers.
Doesn't quite believe law enforcement's theory.
Being that I know that he had a background in the military, being that I know how smart he was, that he solidly meant exactly what he said.
Do you know who shot you?
No, someone, a white man's man.
That was not a nickname. He did not know that person, because if he did, he would have said something for us to know it. Stephon would not have left that open like that.
In the end, Stephon's loved ones remain focused on building back their lives and remembering the music man silenced far too soon.
Stephon Juan Gatti Edgerton would have celebrated his 50th birthday just yesterday. Next month, on the 10-year anniversary of the day they laid him to rest, his little girl will walk down the aisle without him. Detectives say they've sent out evidence for new testing as recently as last month, but they believe someone in the community knows more than they are sharing. Anyone with information is asked to call the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office. That number is 229-671-2958. That's 229-671-2958. We'll be right back.